All right, we're lucky to have Mike Pence to come back with us. Mike, before the break, I teased a little question because I was stunned when I heard Steve Witkoff offer this. And I guess we've offered this to I guess Trump told Putin that we were offering this to Ukraine. And he called it an Article 5-like security protections for Ukraine with the U.S. oversight. In other words, we, not NATO, we, U.S., is going to make sure. Article 5 basically says anyone in NATO is attacked, all of NATO has to defend that member country. Ukraine's not a member country. How do you read that, Mike?
It's an interesting gambit. So essentially, the way this is designed to be structured is that there would be some land granted to Russia in this trade, but that Russia could take no more land without triggering Article 5. So this would likely involve giving, it's a strange thing to say, but giving Crimea to Russia. Obviously, Crimea voted in a democratic referendum to join the Russian Federation, but the EU and NATO do not respect that referendum. But essentially, if NATO were to leave Russia-controlled Crimea alone, and whatever swaths of land in eastern Ukraine Russia is given in the peace, that they would essentially hold a kind of line of demarcation there that would, in theory, prevent Russia from taking any more land while guaranteeing Russia the land that it won in the peace deal. That's, I think, sort of the design of this. Now, what's interesting is Russia is not in NATO, obviously. It does not have a veto vote. There's nothing to stop NATO from deciding, U.S. and NATO deciding to agree to do this anyway without Putin's consent. So this is very clearly designed to be a kind of inducement for Russia to agree to peace terms. But from Putin's perspective, I think it's difficult to trust that there will not be a kind of forever war inside of Crimea, color revolutions like were done in Ukraine in 2004 and 2014, inside of Crimea, inside of eastern Ukraine in what would be Russia-controlled territory. So I think all parties are rightly wary of each other, but this is the sort of thing that I think if Trump really wanted to do this, he could do this without Putin's consent. Mm-hmm.
Mike, a very pedestrian question here. I'm just an observer from the outside. You're much more in tune to this. It strikes me that big bad Russia, they may have the most nukes on the planet, big military presence, can't even accomplish, right or wrong, Putin's goal of taking Ukraine. It's what are we, 3 years on plus? And it strikes me that are we in a situation in the world right now where these big threats from Russia, North Korea, Iran don't hold the teeth and we shouldn't be as fearful of these things going forward?
Well, it's tough to say. I think both sides have been holding back on the heaviest of weaponry for the past several years. I mean, there have been discussions of things like tactical nuclear weapons, smaller scale ones, and the like. But mostly, this has been a drone war for the past 2 years after the initial bodies were chewed up in year one. But this has never been Russia versus Ukraine. This has always been Russia versus NATO, which is what also makes the Article 5 language kind of an interesting gambit, but again, a strange one because there has been a NATO.
And the odd thing, Mike, is he didn't say NATO. He called it Article 5-like, with the United States being the peacekeeper in this. Like we're going to put U.S. boots on the ground on the whatever this new border would be between Ukraine, what's left of Ukraine and Russia. Very quick. I only have about half a minute.
Well, it's been American weapons. It's been American special advisors and trainers. It's been the Brits, the Canadians, the Poles, the Germans, the French. I mean, this has been we're acting like there has been an Article 5 violation already. So to simply call it an Article 5-like protection is really not all that different from the terms of the war as they currently are. Mm-hmm.